So you got a Cobra SN95 with an IRS, or if you're like me, you have a IRS swapped fox body and you want to set up a hydraulic handbrake because you're trying to get into drifting. Well, you're in luck, because today I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Now, a few years ago, there were really no options for off-the-shelf kit that you could just bolt right on and have a second caliper set up. It was all mock up and make your own, fab your own bracket. And there was a lot of guys here on YouTube that have videos of how to make your own. But now, thanks to Duncan Performance, I will leave a link in the description below. You can buy this kit from them with very little modification to your knuckle. You can bolt it right on, and then you fit a factory caliper right there. Now, this kit doesn't come with instructions, but I spent a few hours the other day working it out on the passenger side. So today I'm going to show you step by step how to do it on the driver's side, and obviously the same steps apply for the passenger side. Now, when you get the kit, it will come with two of everything shown here, one for each side. First, you have the actual plate itself, and this is what will bolt to the knuckle and then to the brake caliper. Then you have these two bolts here, which is what mounts your caliper to the bracket. And then these two here are what's going to mount the bracket to the knuckle. But you'll have to use these spacers to space it out a little bit so it's got the proper distance for the caliper to mount. Quick side note, this bracket is made for a factory brake caliper for your Cobra IRS. If you are wanting to run bigger calipers for your handbrake or any kind of other caliper other than the factory Ford caliper for the IRS, this kit will not work. This plate is made for a factory Cobra IRS rear brake caliper. So once you have your caliper off, next up is to take your rotor off. So now would be a good time to service your rotors, get them turned or replace them, whatever you want to do. These are pretty shot. I do have new rotors that I'm putting on, so I'm not even going to worry about this. Next up, we have to take the dust shield off, because you cannot run this dust shield with this dual caliper kit, because the actual holes that we're going to use to mount the bracket are the holes that mount the dust shield on, those two right there. These are the bolts here that are going to hold the bracket to the knuckle. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, hey now, that ain't gonna screw right in. And you'd be right. This is where the minor modification portion comes in. What you're gonna have to do is drill these holes out large enough to fit these bolts. Now, if you don't have a very wide variety or selection of drill bits, I highly recommend you go to local hardware store, farm supply store, or whatever, Harbor Freight, and just buy a cheap set like this. This only cost me 10 bucks, and I mean, they're just high-speed steel. It's just aluminum we're drilling through, nothing major, because you can go for the gusto if you want straight away, but I highly recommend working your way up one drill bit at a time, which is what I did. That way you can make sure these holes stay as straight as possible. We're going to work our way up to 27/64. That seemed to be the magic number to be able to get that bolt in there just right, and to be able to fit properly without being too big. Also, if you're like me and you really do not want to have to take all this apart to pull the knuckle off, to put this in a press and drill this out, don't worry, I got you covered. We just so happen to be lucky enough that the holes in the hub here for the lug studs are in line with those holes. So what you want to do is take yourself an old lug nut that you don't care about, pick a stud, thread it on there, and we're gonna beat this stud out, and then we can drill through the hole here and into the knuckle without ever having to take any of this off. And then you just rotate it as need be to get yourself lined up. And then putting the stud back in as easy as getting an oversized nut, putting it on there and running this lug nut down and pulling her back through. Alright, once you have your holes drilled out and you're happy with the way these bolts fit in there, next thing you want to do is you want to grab your bracket and you put the two bolts through, and you can go ahead and slide it through the back there. And then you want to put your nylocks on the front here. Once you get these tightened up, once you get them all tightened down, it's time to put your rotor back on. But obviously before we do that, we got to put the stud back in. Take your stud, feed it back through, take your oversized nut, slide it over the top there, get your old lug nut back. Now I know I'm not using an impact socket, but not really that crucial for this job. So go ahead and tighten her down so that stud pulls through. Once you get your regular caliper back on and your rotor and all that, and you're ready to put the second caliper on, make sure that you put those aluminum spacers between the dual caliper bracket and the actual caliper bracket itself. That's where the aluminum spacer goes. And also, one thing to note is that because this caliper mounts opposite side of the rotor from the factory caliper, you need to use the opposite side calipers on this wheel. So technically this is a passenger side brake caliper, but it's on the driver's side of the vehicle because you need the bleeder screw to be on top so you can get the calipers bled no problem. So just make sure you're mindful of that. So now that this side's done, I've already done the passenger side as I mentioned earlier. All that's left to do is route the lines and get the hydraulic handbrake plumbed in and mounted. So yeah, it's just however you guys want to do that for your particular vehicle. So now that I've given you all the information you need to get your dual caliper bracket set up on your IRS Mustang, all that's left is to get out there and get ripping. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll catch you.